Legislature is back in session. Good morning, colleagues. Today we have can you hear me? Test. AV, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Back in session. Colleagues, we have a full day today. We want to knock out everything that we have on our agenda for today. Okay, so I can hear actually my right, but so let's go ahead and get started. All right, second reading. Next on the agenda is Bill 199-38 COR. Okay, sponsor Senator Vince Borja. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place into the third reading file Bill number 199-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting, an act to establish a lifetime teaching certificate for experienced educators on Guam, and I wish to speak on the measure.
You can proceed.
Mr. Speaker, good morning, colleagues. I rise today to ask for your support for Bill 199-38, a measure that honors the educators who have dedicated 25 years or more of their lives to Guam's public schools. And Mr. Speaker, this bill isn't just about a certificate. It's about recognizing a lifelong commitment, decades of sacrifice, hard work, resilience, and heart. It's about acknowledging the people who have shaped generation after generation, often without recognition, and far too often without the respect or compensation they deserve. And Mr. Speaker, with a little humor, this term, we've been accused of giving out sweetheart deals. And to be honest, I was starting to feel left out because I haven't given any. So this is going to be my first sweetheart deal. Then I can proudly say that I'm giving it to the people who deserve it the most, our teachers. But in all seriousness, Mr. Speaker, this isn't a giveaway. It's not about handing something out lightly. This is recognizing the longevity, excellence, and sacrifice. Because teaching, especially teaching for over 2 decades, is not an easy task on Guam. It's emotionally draining, physically demanding, and deeply personal. Teachers don't just show up. They show up for other people's children every day for years. Mr. Speaker, during the public hearing, we heard from stakeholders, including the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, the Department of Education, and even educators themselves. Their testimonies reminded us that behind every certificate, behind every classroom, behind every student's success is a teacher who stayed late, who reached out, and who cared. Teachers are often the first to notice when a student is struggling, hurting, hungry, or lost. They are the first to encourage, support, and believe. They are the ones who believe and celebrate the victories, big and small, and carry the weight of the failures, even when it isn't theirs to carry. This bill brings Guam in line with other states like Montana, Washington, Texas, and Idaho. But more importantly, it reflects our cultural value of honoring those who serve the community with their whole selves. Now, Mr. Speaker, this bill includes accountability. Lifetime certification doesn't mean lifetime immunity. Educators who receive the certification must complete professional development and undergo evaluation every 5 years. Because respect for experience must still be paired with a commitment to ongoing excellence. During the markup, one of our other colleagues raised an important point. Because of his input, we changed "may" to shall, ensuring certification is revoked if someone violates the professional code of conduct. We also removed the word continuous because we recognize that life happens. Illness, family obligations, military service, and educators should not be punished for stepping away when life demanded it. Mr. Speaker, teachers are not just employees of government agencies. They're mentors, counselors, role models, advocates, and sometimes the stable adult in a children's life when chaos exists everywhere else. They absorb trauma, carry burdens, and worry about students long after the bell rings, often at the expense of their own families, their own time, and their own health. And the fact that so many stay not for money, not for status, and not for comfort, but because they believe in the future of this island. It's something that deserves recognition, not in just words, but in policy. Mr. Speaker, in a time when teacher burnout is rising, vacancies are real. When recruiting new teachers is even harder than ever, we must do more than ask teachers to hang in there. We must show them that we value the people who choose to stay, who choose this profession for the long haul, who choose our children every single day. Because when teachers leave, we don't just lose staff, we lose experience, wisdom, culture, and stability. Mr. Speaker, Bill 199 is about dignity, respect, and retention. It tells teachers, we see you, we appreciate you, and we want you to stay. And if this term I finally get to give out a sweetheart deal, then I'm proud and deeply proud that this legislature will give this to the people who have shaped our island, our families, and our future. And for these reasons, Mr. Speaker, with gratitude for our educators and with full confidence in the value of this measure, I respectfully ask our colleagues to support Bill 199. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, sir. On the bill, 199, gentleman from Talofofo, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to share my comments this morning in support of Bill 199 as a co-sponsor of this proposal, which, if approved, establishes lifetime certification for qualified teachers and outlines the minimum requirements an individual must meet in order to qualify for a lifetime educator certification. Mr. Speaker, under the authority of Guam's Education Statute, Title 17, the Guam Commission for Educator Certification is tasked to determine whether those individuals who are responsible for the education of children are competent to perform their duties as teachers, as guidance counselors, or as school administrators. According to the GCEC, over 3,000 Guam educators have about 5,000 certificates. Some educators may hold one or more certificates while others have moved off island, keeping their certificate current. Additionally, Guam's education statute requires that the GCEC, among its responsibilities, to propose rules that provide for special or restricted certification of educators as needed. Mr. Speaker, recognizing the strong community support that was offered during the bill's public hearing, I focused my questions during that discussion on the relationship between the GCEC and the Guam Ethics Commission. I was and remain concerned, particularly with respect to the Guam Ethics Commission's broad jurisdiction over standard of conduct complaints against Government of Guam employees. As drafted, and I'm sure there's going to be at least one amendment today, Bill 199 provides that a lifetime teacher certification shall be revoked if the holder is found to have violated the professional code of conduct or code of ethics, or if character assessments indicate disqualifying violations. I appreciate the comments that were offered by Dr. Michelle Santos and Chairperson Roberta Abadai, both of whom agreed on the importance of ensuring that stakeholders exercise due diligence with respect to alleged misconduct, including sexual misconduct involving students. According to the Commission, they continue to request for final plea agreements or court documents to verify violations, and they monitor news and court cases involving Guam educators. For these reasons, I maintain my support for Bill 199, and I encourage the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, should this measure become law, to prioritize regular monitoring of alleged misconduct by any one of their more than 3,000 certificate holders. Moreover, I publicly urge the Commission to take swift action against violators, including educators who were aware of such violations but failed to make a report to the Commission and other responsible authorities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time this morning.
You're very welcome. On the bill, Gentlelady and Ranking Member from Pago Bay, ma'am, you're recognized.
Mingila Pago Bay. Mananasitos, Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this measure 199-38. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this measure. Our island continues to face a lot of teacher shortages, and the recertification process can become a barrier for many veteran educators. And instead of navigating these requirements late in their careers, some choose to early retirement even though they still want to serve. This bill is a great step towards retaining those experienced teachers while honoring their decades of service and dedication to our students. But, Mr. Speaker, we should also ensure that those who recently retired because of these barriers have a pathway to return, and many of them are willing, but the process literally is just too burdensome for them to navigate again. So in that effort, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to address this issue based on that, and I have an amendment. I know it's on the Google Drive, and I think it was passed out. And it literally is to amend the bill to add a new section C, which is on page 3, line 4, which is the lifetime certification eligibility and for recently retired individuals to read. Individuals who have retired in good standing within the last 5 years, and those certifications has since lapsed, may be eligible to apply for a lifetime certification within 6 months of the passage of this legislation. And Mr. Speaker, this ensures that we do not shut up those who have stepped away due to these obstacles and gives them the opportunity to continue contributing to our schools. So I ask for the support of our colleagues on this matter. And I know that in the committee report, one of my colleagues and I were speaking about 1 or 2 teachers who have recently passed in the last decade and really want to come back to the service. And so that can be a discussion that we can look at, and I'm hoping that I said 5 years, but I'm even looking at maybe upping it to 10. So if we can just have a moment's recess, Mr. Speaker, just to confer with the author to make sure that based on the committee report and a couple of the teachers that come our way, that we can at least look into that. Just a moment.
Along those lines, we can check to see how a teacher was passed. Can we get recertified? Okay. Thank you. Recess.
Moment. Those who've retired.
Legislation is back from recess. We figured out how to be able to have expired person.
A correction on that, Mr. It's those who retired.
Okay.
But anyways, as I talked to the author of this measure, Mr. Speaker, I would like to just first amend that within the last 5 years to the last decade.
So you're going to amend the amendment to read within the last decade, not last 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. On the amendment to the amendment, it's just to change 5 years to last decade, 10 years. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, point of information, decade, I can change it to 10 or have legal look 10 years.
Why don't we do that for
Okay.
purposes of
10
clarity?
years.
Okay. So
Thank you. 10
the
years.
last 5 years to the last 10 years.
10 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
On that amendment to the amendment, Gentleman from EPAT, sir, you recognize.
Hey, bananas to the people of Guam. Thank you for watching on our YouTube stream, Docomo and our GTA channels. Happy Thursday to you. Mr. Speaker, I just want to rise in strong support of the amendment as in the public hearing, Senor Ron Laguatnia, who of course was responsible for developing a lot of the curriculum in the Chamorro Studies Division, had expressed an intention. I'm sure he's not the only one. He had retired in 2015, and in the public hearing, he had expressed that he would have liked to come back and get that lifetime certification, which obviously he deserves. But the bill as written wouldn't allow for that because it only allowed teachers who had retired in the last 5 years. And so I know it's not only for Senor Laguatnia. I'm pretty sure there are many other teachers, Chamorro otherwise, who are looking at coming back and lending a hand. But I also wanted to just kind of speak to the other issue that the retired teachers face. The lifetime certification is a great idea. Absolutely, totally support it. And then the other measures that we've done with allowing the retired teachers to accrue sick and other types of leave. But when they come back into the teaching service, unfortunately, even with the credentials that they could have with the passage of this bill, and even with the many years of experience that they carry with them in the classroom coming back as retirees, unfortunately, they come back at step one. So that's something that, I'd be willing to work with the chair. I'm pretty sure there's no way we could amend this bill to address that, but maybe another piece of legislation down the road. But, it'd have to be a balance and not infringe on DOE's capability to recruit new teachers, because we want to continue to recruit new young teachers and not necessarily use the retirees to supplant our younger teachers, but to supplement them. And so we have to continue to look for ways to support teachers as a whole. And I think GDOE has that capability, as they, when they gave out those teacher raises, they have the ability to look over the teacher pay scales every couple of years, much like the Department of Administration, and determine if there's an increase needed. And I don't think any of the teachers will say that they don't need an increase in pay. So just Masi, Mr. Speaker. And then, along with this amendment, which I support because of the desire for Senor Laguatnia to come back. I think it kind of aligns, if you're reading the news, Senor Jimmy Terria, who heads the Chamorro Studies Division, is now looking at the former LBJ Elementary for the Guam Department of Education's Chamorro Language Immersion Program. So I'm hoping all these little pieces can come together and really help the Guam Department of Education keep good qualified teachers in the classroom. So Sidos Masi, Mr. Speaker, and good morning again to the people of Guam.
Thank you very much. On the amendment to the amendment, on the amendment to the amendment, to change from 5 to 10 years. On the amendment to the amendment, are there any objections to the amendment to the amendment? Would you like to speak, ma'am? Gentlelady from Barragata, you recognize?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to my colleagues. So I do have reservations about extending the last 10 years because one gets rusty. Even after a year, things may have changed in regards to subject matters. And my concern is that, although they may have, retired in good standing, my concern is that if we extend it for 10 years, they may need to get some further training. And that's really the point about getting certified, is you're keeping up to date with the current, the subject matter. So I do have reservations about extending it to 10 years, although I know we would like to bring in more teachers. That is my concern with this 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the amendment to the amendment, Senator Paris, are you registering an objection to this? Okay, there is an objection. There is an objection to this amendment to the amendment. Any other senators wanting to speak to the amendment? Amendment to the amendment. Okay. Ma'am, would you like to close? Okay. There has been an objection to the amendment to the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment to raise from 5 to 10 years, please indicate by raising your hand. Amendment passes. On the amendment as amended, any discussions on the amendment as amended? No discussion on the amendment. Gentlelady from Tumuning, you are recognized.
So just mostly, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to my colleagues. Hopefully today will be done. But that being said, Mr. Speaker, I really have no real reservations about this legislation. I think using the word sweetheart deal is, kind of lowering the standard of this bill, and it should not be. And this is an opportunity to provide teachers to our school. It's that important. Using the word sweetheart deal, that's a bad word. But this is a good thing, what we're doing today for this bill. The board, of course, the bill was supported almost unanimously by those who came to testify. Of course, Dr. Ron McNitch had some reservations, and justly so, but it was also said that the GCEC had already been considering a lifetime certificate before this bill came up, and then collaborating with the center allowed them to provide, constructive research-based input as well. And they believe the lifetime certificate will recognize veteran teachers and their dedication, and it removes barriers that causes license to lapse. It keeps experienced teachers in the classroom. Stated there's no significant physical impact, It was mentioned that the GCEC also standards ensured continuing professional quality. It also answered a physical impacts question. Some teachers may avoid a few renewal fees of $150 each, but not all teachers qualify. Many administrators and educators are not eligible as well. So that being said, I think the changes that were made in the amendment in the markup meeting from May to shall was a good improvement. However, I do want to question on the word continuous was removed. And I'd like to ask the author of the legislation for this great bill, not a sweetheart deal, but a great deal, why was continuous removed?
Why can't we stick to the amendment first? We haven't passed the amendment.
Oh, I thought the amendment, we are on the main bill, right?
No, we passed the amendment to the amendment. Now we're past.
Oh,
Now we're working
man.
on the amendment.
Can you guys just rewind and then replay it back when it's time to talk on the main
No,
bill?
you still haven't lost your time. So
Hold that time,
Okay.
hold that thought. But okay, then moving forward, I voted for to
Okay.
keep the 10 years in. That's
All
all
right.
good.
Okay.
So when I come up to speak on the main bill, I'll just say, okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. On the amendment as amended, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Now on the bill as amended. You still do have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Truly appreciate my colleagues supporting the efforts of this amendment, but more importantly, to support the efforts of this bill. I ask for my colleagues to support this, as this will truly be instrumental in bringing a lot of our teachers, who I always say with a lot of wisdom, come back. And a lot of, in this generation, we continue to live a lot longer. And we're hoping that the teachers with their expertise, that we can literally open the doors for them to come back. Sizos Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Gentlelady from Tamuning, now you can talk on the bill.
Well, at least I got it right, Mr. Speaker, to allow her to continue. Okay, very short. You heard what I had to say earlier about the bill, and my question just is to the author of the legislation to ask why the word continuous was removed and the reason behind it, how it will now flow.
I'm sorry, would you like to yield to the question? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reason they moved the word continuous is because even within the time frame, sometimes people will resign for personal reasons and then come back. So as long as their certification was still active, if we kept that word in, kept that in there, there would not have been allowed for them to have any type of break-in service.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I thank you for that. You know, I have no objections to this legislation. I just don't want to, you know, put it in a category of sweetheart deals, but just to say that this is a good bill for our teachers, our retired teachers, to be able to have them come back, and greatly appreciate any opportunity for our schools to be able to provide students in classrooms that are not filled with 35, 60, 40, you know, students at a time. You know, that's why I think charter schools work out so well, because of the amount of numbers is limited. So, but in order to address that, we need more teachers. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended. On the bill as amended. Gentleman from Tumuning, sir, you're recognized.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker, and I rise very excited to support this really, really good bill by my colleague, 199-38. Mr. Speaker, I know you've heard many times that I've said this on the floor. I come from a family of educators. I like to tease my sister because she's the only girl out of 8 children, and I call her my favorite sister. She really is my favorite sister, but she's actually my only sister as well. But in her family, she has done Guam a great service by raising a family of educators. In that family, there is over 100 years collectively of education experience and dedicated service in the Guam public school system. And we're all very proud of all of them, and we're thankful for their service. And anytime I need to know something about the Guam Department of Education, it's only a phone call or text away. But I think this bill really recognizes the valuable time and years that teachers put into the system, especially in the Guam public school system, because the certification requirements. Mr. Speaker, you know, you and I, and of course all of our colleagues here know, and this has been grappled back and forth as well within this body, that, you know, there are teachers in the private sector and private schools and the like that don't have the same certification requirements, are great teachers. And most of them are lifetime teachers, simply because they're either associated with the religious institution that most of these private schools are a part of, or whatever, for whatever reason, being in charter schools or other schools to where there are, you know, different requirements. And so that certification, or not even the need of certification, and great teachers, those who are learned and who have been teaching for a long time, and many teach basically up until the time they pass, don't even retire sometimes. So I think this is an excellent recognition of what it means to put in that 25 years into a system. You don't do that unless you're absolutely dedicated. We know that there are people that are just born to teach. They love it, and it's everything they do and always want to do. We know others who chose it as a profession and have put the time in. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It's very rewarding, but not easy. I'm sure, looking at you with your smile on your face, you hear it every day, and have heard it for many, many years, in terms of the joy, but also the difficulty, you know, that comes along with raising up children in education to hopefully have a promising future. So I think this bill is a long time in coming. I thank the author for introducing it, and I've been through the testimony that is overwhelmingly positive when it comes to this, and also the safeguards that have been put in place. I think this makes it a really great bill. And in closing, I can personally ask, but I wanted to ask on the record, to also be a co-sponsor on this great piece of legislation. Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to share some comments on Bill 199-38. Sidus Masi.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended, are there any senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? Gentlelady from Barragata, ma'am, good morning, you're recognized.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise in full support of Bill number 199, and I thank the good author for including me as a co-sponsor. This legislation recognizes something we often say but do not always encode into policy, that long-serving educators are an essential pillar of Guam's public education system. They carry decades of instructional experience, classroom management skill, cultural knowledge, and the steady presence that anchors our schools year after year. This bill finally gives that service and recognition and stability it deserves. The Guam Commission for Educator Certification made clear that lifetime certification is consistent with national practices and can be implemented responsibly with the safeguards built into this bill. Required participation in professional development, adherence to evaluation standards, periodic reporting, and the expectation that ethical and professional conduct remains uncompromised. These protections ensure that the credential honors experience without diminishing accountability. Mr. Speaker, veteran teachers are often the ones who mentor new hires, support curriculum transitions, and provide continuity during leadership changes. They are the stabilizing forces when schools face shortages or mid-year vacancies. And for specialized areas like Chamorro language, literacy intervention, and advanced coursework, it is often these long-serving teachers who carry deep content knowledge that would take years to rebuild if lost. Mr. Speaker, Bill 199-38 is not about reducing expectations. It is about removing unnecessary administrative barriers that have little to do with teaching quality. It allows experienced educators to remain where we need them the most, in front of the students, rather than navigating repetitive renewal procedures that add burden but no measurable value. The only thing about this, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to speak upon it, I'd like to take note of what my colleague, the good senator from Barrigada, mentioned earlier, that there are certain subject matters that are constantly evolving quickly, particularly information technology. So on that note, I think it's something that this legislative body can actually take into account moving forward. So, Mr. Speaker, this measure represents a thoughtful balance between honoring service and maintaining rigor. It strengthens retention, eases reentry for retirees, respects the realities of a challenging profession, and ultimately supports stronger outcomes for students. For these very reasons, Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of Bill number 199, and I urge all my colleagues to do the same. Sidus Masi.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? No other senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? Oh, hang on. Gentlelady from Georgia, you're recognized.
Sidus Masi, and I rise in support of this bill. And I just want to note that the bill has some protections for us. It has been changed so that this lifetime certification shall be revoked if the holder is found to have violated the professional code or conduct of ethics, or if character assessments indicate disqualifying violations. Then this lifetime certification shall be revoked and they would have to go back to the annual certification process. It also has a protection where the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, prior to issuance, may require completion of any professional development or activities that they prescribe. So I'm hoping that they take this very seriously, and maybe some of the comments of the teachers in our body who have indicated that perhaps there is some professional development that they can all avail of when coming back for this after a number of years. and then the additional protection is one that the Department of Education holds, and that is that it requires active participation in the Guam Teacher Evaluation Program. So they will be evaluated regularly, and that will be reported as well to the Commission. And DOE will be requiring that they maintain professional standards such as annual evaluations, training sessions, professional growth planning, and fulfillment of student outcome assessments. So all of this, GDOE is going to be able to require of these lifetime certified teachers so that there is no decrease in that type of oversight by Guam Department of Education or the Commission. And I like the language in the bill because it's flexible for the Commission, so if they see a need, as they have done this, that they can require that in addition. So for those reasons, I support the bill, and as many of my colleagues have said, we have been trying to find ways, in addition to increasing teacher pay, to incentivize teachers. We have analyzed the teacher scholarships that were not being issued in a great number and tried to prioritize teacher and nursing scholarships because of the great need. And we've now, I think, in the recent budget, left that up to GDOE, UOG, to prioritize, but the law really prioritizes. It's supposed to be this, teacher scholarships and nursing scholarships, because of the great need that has been found for decades now. And I appreciate that GDOE was active in reviewing this bill, as well as the Commission, the Teacher Certification Commission, and the union, Guam Federation of Teachers Union, because it's made the bill better, and I think we are very well protected for the students. Again, this is all for students so that we can have additional teachers in the classroom, we can have experienced teachers in the classroom, and to make it a little bit more convenient for them to continue to teach for us. And just want to say we very much appreciate all that the teachers are doing, and we'll continue to work on additional incentives for keeping our teachers in those classrooms.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? No other senators? Senator Borja, you can close on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague from Pago Bay for her amendment, which allowed, more teachers to be able to take advantage of this new, take advantage of the lifetime certification. But Mr. Speaker, I want to, a colleague shared that using the term a sweetheart deal, it's more derogatory and may imply that I'm trying to lower standards. And I respect that perspective, but I want to address that directly. The reality is, I use that phrase with humor, not to diminish standards, but to highlight the irony of how often this body has been accused of handing out sweetheart deals, and I meant it in a way that flips the narrative. If we're going to invest in anyone, and if we're going to recognize anyone with something meaningful, I would hope it is the people who have given their entire careers to our children. There's nothing casual or unserious about that. There's nothing cheap or easy about 25 years of service. So when I said it jokingly, that would be my first sweetheart deal, I meant it with pride, because if honoring lifelong educators is the worst thing that we could be accused of, then I think we're doing something right. But let me be clear, this bill doesn't lower the standards. It preserves accountability, requires continued evaluation, and maintains professional expectations. Honoring longevity is not lowering a bar. It's recognizing those who have met it, exceeded it, and carried it forward for decades. Mr. Speaker, teachers don't earn this certificate because they stayed in a job. They earn it because they stayed in the fight for students, for their families, and for the future of this island. We cannot measure that in hours of paperwork. We measure it in impact, in the lives changed, skills taught, confidence built, and futures shaped. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleagues for their comments, the amendment, and their contributions to this measure, and I respectfully ask, before I move it to the third reading file, if I could make a motion to add Senator Duenas and any other senators that would like to be added as a co-sponsor to this bill, Mr. Speaker. Senator Barnett. Senator Taitigui. Are you on it? Anybody else? Everybody present, Mr. Speaker, if they're not on it.
Okay, on the motion to add Senators Chris Dueñas, Chris Barnett, and Tello Taitigui, and all other members present, Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now I move to place Bill 199-38 to the third reading file.
On the motion to place Bill 199-38 as amended by the committee and then further amended on the floor to the third reading, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Next on the agenda is resolution number 83-38 LS. Senator Parrish, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place Resolution 83-38 LS into the third reading file, and I wish to discuss.
You can proceed.
Thank you. Resolution 83-38, recognizing the UN Declaration of 2025 as the International Year of Cooperatives, underscores the powerful role that cooperatives play in advancing sustainable development goals, from eradicating poverty and hunger to promoting renewable energy, supporting stable and dignified work, preserving biodiversity, and building economic resiliency. It also highlights the unique strengths of cooperatives, including democratic ownership, community-rooted economic activity, and equitable sharing of profits as vital mechanisms for local resilience, especially in underserved communities. The enactment of Public Law 37-147, which established the Limited Cooperative Association Act in Guam's laws in December of 2024, provides an accessible framework for those wishing to establish limited cooperative associations on Guam. The Limited Cooperative Association Law specifies essential aspects of governance of the LCA, from its creation and amendment of its articles of incorporation, bylaws, filing, naming, registering, access to information by its members, reporting public notices of annual and special meetings, members' interest, transferability of interest, allocation of profits and losses, directors and officers, quorum, dissolution and mergers and disassociation if applicable. This model allows for membership by patrons and investors who can provide needed funding, but also ensures control of the patron members in their role as individual members and through the board of directors of the cooperative. So it's pretty comprehensive. And since the enactment of Public Law 37-147, Resolution 83-38 seeks its implementation through a coordinated government-wide approach through cooperative development that includes cooperative business education and training programs and the workforce development initiatives, launching an education and outreach campaign through the University of Guam and the Guam Economic Development Authority, in partnership with cooperative experts and implementation of Public Law 37-147, that includes updating forms and staff training within the Department of Revenue and Taxation. During the public hearing, those that testified not only provided examples of the success of cooperatives in combating poverty, but also provided resources, expertise, and commitment on increasing the implementation of cooperatives for Guam. Guahan Sustainable Culture, Michelle Crisostomo, testified, "As a farmer and advocate for our local farmers, cooperatives are proven and trusted by farmers. This isn't an experiment. Agricultural cooperatives are a proven business model. 2 million farmers are members of more than 2,100 cooperatives in the United States, and these cooperatives generate $188 billion in agricultural revenues annually. The fact that 2 million US farmers have chosen cooperatives demonstrates a deep trust in this model." She goes on further to testify, "Cooperatives solve challenges that Guam's agricultural community faces, such as bridging the gap of supply by small-scale farmers for the large buyers like hotels, restaurants, and governments who find it difficult or inconvenient to coordinate with 10 different farmers for one product, such as hot peppers or cucumbers. Most of them would rather call on one import distributor. So our farmers are shut out, not because their product isn't good, but because they can't offer the volume and consistency of a consolidated supplier. Cooperatives will enable farmers to aggregate production and negotiate as one entity. And cooperatives also can address the farmers' lack of access to land, infrastructure, and equipment by sharing resources to achieve the economies of scale. Micronesian Climate Change Alliance member Monica De Oro testified. She brought in a case study about Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka is a developing island nation off the coast of India with 23 million people that has been struggling economically due to interest from debts levied by the International Monetary Fund. Following the devastation of civil war from 1983 to 2009, formal institutions were weak, and cooperatives emerged as a crucial mechanism for returnees to rebuild their livelihoods, especially in the northern province. Producer cooperatives linked to sectors like fisheries, farming, livestock, and women entrepreneurship were instrumental in this process. Social capital, including neighborhood ties and shared experience, were vital in reestablishing cooperatives and self-help groups for sustainable incomes. And these cooperative structures help marginalized groups, such as war widows and ex-combatants, access resources to rebuild their lives and imagine a future. And so they've rebuilt their economy so much so that they become a model for further cooperative development through something known as the National Institute of Cooperative Development, which serves as an excellent state case study for potential impact of well-supported cooperative ecosystems that provide training and education, skill development, research, data, promoting excellence and internal collaboration, something that we can also bring here to Guam. Additionally, Resolution 83-38 promotes regional solidarity by calling for creation of cooperative working groups in the CNMI, FSM, and Palau to help introduce and advance similar legislation in their respective governments. It builds on years of advocacy and development across the Pacific to use cooperatives as a pathway to shared prosperity, environmental stewardship, and democratic governance. I would like to thank my co-sponsors, Vice Speaker Atta, Senators Chris Barnett, Tina Rose Mooney-Barnes, Therese Terlahi, Telo Tadigui, and Speaker Frank Blas Jr. and Senator Shelley Calvo for their support and recognition of the importance of developing cooperatives on Guam and building a resilient community through economic development that incorporates social, environmental, and democratic ideals. And I ask for my colleagues' support. Suzu's Masi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On Resolution 83-38 LS, any senator wishing to speak on the resolution? Gentlelady from Barrigada, ma'am, you're recognized.
From Barrigada to Barrigada. Sidus Masi again,
Triangle,
Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of Resolution number 83-38 LS, a measure that places Guam firmly within a global movement to build fairer, more resilient, and more sustainable economies. This resolution aligns our island with United Nations Declaration of 2025 as the International Year of Cooperatives. And it acknowledges that cooperatives have long demonstrated when communities come together, pool their resources together, and share in decision-making, they build systems that are more durable, more equitable, and more reflective of the values that we share and we cherish. Mr. Speaker, this resolution rests on the foundation of Public Law 37-147, the Limited Cooperative Association Act, which recognized that the promise of cooperative enterprise for food security, small business empowerment, renewable energy, cultural industries, and more. By passing this resolution, we are reaffirming that commitment and ensuring that the legal framework we created is accompanied by education, outreach, and real opportunities for families, farmers, and entrepreneurs to benefit. Mr. Speaker, the United Nations theme, Cooperatives Build a Better World, could not be more relevant on Guam. Cooperatives embody Inafamaulik. They require collaboration, shared responsibility, and a commitment to the well-being of the whole community. They also advance several sustainable development goals that directly impact our island. SDG, Mr. Speaker, is actually a global effort and initiative, and it's very, very loud and sounding outside our island. So this is, in fact, allowing us to be parallel with those initiatives. So from reducing poverty and strengthening food systems to expanding clean energy, improving economic participation, and supporting fair, democratic workplaces. These goals are reflected throughout this very resolution, Mr. Speaker. But beyond the global context, this is a local opportunity. Our farmers have asked for support to scale production through cooperative models. Our young entrepreneurs are seeking pathways that allow shared risk and shared rewards. Our regional partners in the Sinamay, FSM, and Palau are looking to Guam for leadership in sustainable development initiatives and efforts. They're ready to build cooperative working groups, strengthen interagency coordination, and promote education and training through UOG, GIDA, and our community partners. Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues, adopting this resolution is not symbolic, it's actually strategic. It signals to our people, to funders, and to our region that Guam supports economic models grounded in dignity, equity, and local control. It invites our agencies to take cooperative development seriously. So I humbly ask that my colleagues join me in strongly supporting this resolution. Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the resolution, are there any other senators wishing to speak on the resolution? On the resolution. Well, senators, General Lady from Georgia, ma'am, you're recognized.
I'd like to stand in support of this resolution, which furthers the work of the author in the previous public law 37-147, and really require our community to work together to foster cooperatives in our for economic reasons and for sustainable reasons, sustainable goals, to meet sustainability goals. This is very important right now, particularly with food, and we've heard testimony regarding the efforts, and we've seen how cooperatives on Guam are enhancing our ability to help small businesses, including smaller farmers, consolidate and really share their products and get those on the market effectively, efficiently, and provide food for all of us and for our other industries as well. And so I want to commend the author for really bringing focus to this and kind of combining the efforts of these different nonprofits together with GIDA and the University of Guam in really what is the resolution calling for is an educational campaign first and foremost, so that all businesses are aware of how this model can benefit them, can benefit their employees, and benefit the people of Guam as well. And it also, I'm encouraged by GIDA's pledge to really do this work and to diversify our economy in this way. And I want to thank all of those who are kind of already working in this model and encouraging us to make it something very well known throughout our community so that all our new entrepreneurs, our new businesses can look at this model and see if this is something we can do, again, that will greatly benefit employees and our community. So this gives technical backing to what we need here in our community through GITA and UOG. So I want to thank the author for her work on this resolution. It's a perfect combination with the public law that she passed earlier last term, and that is laid out the revenue and taxation format for accepting cooperatives and encouraging those through GITA, UOG, and other sources. So again, Sidos Masi to all of those who are working towards this already in our community, who have structured themselves as this one, with this as one of their goals. And again, thank you to the sponsor who's always leading us down what the United Nations has found to be best for communities. And I think it's really crucial for a smaller community like ours, a smaller island like ours, where we have limited resources, yet we can truly take care of ourselves in this way. Sidos Masi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the resolution, gentleman from Ipan, sir, you're recognized.
Sidos Masi, Mr. Speaker, and good morning again to the people of Guam. I rise in support of the resolution. I was one of the co-sponsors for Public Law 37147, which gave the tools for these cooperatives, and this resolution is basically the implementation plan. And, you know, I really struggled in how to talk about the bill that we passed, and, you know, really just listening to people who know a lot better. It's very encouraging, the support that this resolution and the prior law that's connected to it received from the public and from just the different agencies. GITA, who admitted they only have a peripheral understanding of cooperative associations. I guess we have that in common. Though fostering their growth has not been part of their initiatives, the public law and this resolution, I believe, will move them further down this road. And it's very beneficial for a small community like Guam, because in a lot of areas, what we have is small businesses or different community organizations. A lot of times it's like David versus Goliath, and, you know, our community partners and our small businesses really competing with these off-island entities and, you know, big corporations, big groups, big businesses. And so we can go from David versus Goliath to a bunch of Davids versus a Goliath, and it really aligns with the strength in numbers. And again, the testimony was very insightful during the public hearing, and there were even suggestions, which I agree. I think this is a great one: implementation of a cooperative association division within the Guam Economic Development Authority. And also, Austin Shelton and the Lieutenant Governor had said that the Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Sea Grant kind of exist and have thrived as an example of this cooperative model. I think one of the pieces of testimony that really resonated with me was from Maria Hernandez May, and she kind of put that small business lens on it. And in her testimony, she had told the senators that running a small business on Guam is hard. We compete with big brands who can afford to underprice and out-advertise us. Small business owners often work without paid leave, health care, or steady income. And most of the money they spend ends up leaving our island and isn't used to strengthen our community, support our workers, or protect the environment. The cooperative model is not new to our people, and if we had more cooperatives here, like local makers, farmers, service providers, we could share resources, buy supplies in bulk, and keep our profits circulating within the island. It's practical. And so I encourage my colleagues to support this resolution, and really just want to commend the good senator from Barrigada, who just continues to really push us down this road and embrace these ideas that, you know, you see in other parts of the world, and they work. And this is one that I believe, you know, especially given some of the unique challenges with the Jones Act and our geographic isolation, I think this is one that can really level the playing field for a lot of our community organizations and small businesses. So, Sidos Masi, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to rise and speak in support of the resolution.
Thank you very much. On the resolution, any other senators wishing to speak on the resolution? No other senators? Senator Parrish, you can close, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleagues for their support on this measure, as well as to the community for bringing this to my attention, as well as continuing to do the work. So it's my understanding that they're working to get their first limited cooperative association registered with the Department of Revenue and Taxation. So yeah, we look forward to seeing that. So what Resolution 83-38 does, it really is a call to action for our community, for those who want to step up to champion solutions for a growing list of issues facing our islands today, and to increase economic diversification as we see businesses are shuttering. As one of those that testified, Jordan Panuelo, stated, cooperatives are more than just a business model. They're a way for people to own and manage businesses together and to make sure the benefits stay in our communities. They create good jobs, support local food systems, and make housing more affordable, building true community resilience. So one thing that was testified also was that there is something called a silver tsunami, in which many of these business owners are looking to retire. And so what this cooperative model does, it allows for those that are working within those businesses to have the opportunity to purchase the businesses and continue to maintain their jobs. Another Tawid Marisbang testified, cooperatives focus on reducing poverty, promoting good health and well-being, affordable and clean energy, climate action, and sustainable communities. He states some of the positive traits of cooperatives are the high job retention rates. They help to reduce, reuse, recycle. 80 to 90% success rates over the course of 5 years compared to traditional business models. They pay their fair share of taxes, and they fare better through crises compared to traditional businesses. And they build wealth for their employees through internal capital accounts. So I would like to point out that there's one model, the Mondragon Cooperative in Spain, as a success story and how cooperatives can work potentially on Guam. It started out as a simple cooperative for kerosene heaters, but it has now grown to a conglomerate of diverse cooperatives that produce many things: bicycles, elevators, jet engines, rockets, turbines, R&D centers, grocery chains, and schools that has transformed a once impoverished region. And so I feel that we can learn from these examples, and it's well recognized throughout the world that it does work. It's a proven model. And I look forward to my colleagues' support on this measure. Situas Masi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On resolution number 83-30 LS. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, and I move to place it in the third reading file. Situas Masi.
Thank you, ma'am. I remember that. Okay. On the motion to place resolution number 83-38 LS to the third reading file, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Colleagues, let's take a 1 minute break, recess. 1 minute recess. Legislature's back from recess. Gentlelady from Jonia, ma'am. Senator Talai, you have the floor.
Sejus Masi, I'd like to move, notwithstanding the rules, that we move Bill 173 up in the agenda and discuss that right now.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries.
Sejus Masi, again, Bill, I'd like to begin by making a motion to place Bill number 173-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure, introduced by Therese M. Terlahi and Sabrina Salas-Mantanani, to the third reading. And I'd like to discuss that motion.
Can you go ahead and read the title, please?
Yes, the title is An Act to Authorize Renewal of the Lease of Lot Number 2288-111, Mangilao, and the Mangilao Coban to the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 668, by amending Section 681103 of Chapter 68, Title 21, Guam Code Annotated.
You can proceed, ma'am.
Sejus Masi. Again, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, Bill 173 will renew the 20-year lease for the Mangilao Coban facility, which is currently used by the Vietnam Veterans of America, VVA, Chapter 668. This lease was originally authorized by Public Law 28-04 in 2005, and it expires this year. This bill would ensure continued use of the site as a veterans gathering place and community facility for another 2 decades. As the current lease expires this year, we move this bill quickly to avoid any lapse in authority that could disrupt operations at the property. This would ensure continuity and avoid the facility reverting back without clear direction. We can see that over the past 20 years, the veterans have repaired and improved this property, constructing a Vietnam Veterans Memorial, maintaining the landscape, providing a safe, clean, community-safe space for veterans and other civic organizations. Specifically, under its various presidents in 2005, after the lease was granted, they were required to use the property to support veterans and the Mangilao community, upgrade, improve, and maintain the grounds at no cost to the government, create a gathering space for veterans to meet, share stories, and help one another, honor fallen soldiers from Guam who served in the Vietnam War, and host community events and celebrations for veterans and their families. And that is exactly what we have seen them do. We have borne witness to this service of theirs after their military service. And this is what they have done to help each other, to help their families, to help the families of those who had fallen in the Vietnam War. And in 2011, the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 668, unveiled a beautiful Vietnam Veterans Memorial at the site. 3 concrete structures and a memorial wall listing the names of all Guam men killed in action in Vietnam. A life-size replica of the 3 servicemen statue, modeled after the one in Washington, D.C. The statue was destroyed in a storm, but the organization restored the memorial through fundraisers, donations, and help from other veterans groups, and replaced that statue with a bronze-coated replica in 2019. From 2019 through 2025, they've continued to improve this memorial to what we see today. It's a meeting facility, it has a beautiful parking lot, landscaping. This is by their hands, their sweat, their blood, their equity that they have put into this property for the benefit of all of us, making it a true landmark for the community in Mangilao. At the hearing, Director Joe San Augustine of the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs testified in strong support, stating that the Mangilao site has become a meaningful home base for Vietnam veterans, used for support services, camaraderie, remembrance, and community education. He emphasized its importance for veterans' health, dignity, and well-being. Mayor Alan Ungata of Mangilao also submitted strong support for the bill, praising the VVA 668 for being dedicated stewards of the property over the past 2 decades, noting that they have maintained and transformed the old Koban into a place of remembrance, reflection, and community service for the village. The mayor highlighted that other groups, such as the Military Order of the Purple Heart and the local Knights of Columbus Council, also utilize the site, making it a hub of civic activity. He urged that renewing the lease will preserve a meaningful piece of Guam's history, ensuring that future generations can continue to gather there to reflect, connect, and honor those who served. The Director of Land Management at the hearing offered us a recommendation, and that was to remove what had originally, in the original lease, been designated a portion of the lot to the entire lot. And so we have done that, and the committee has done that. And it is now the entire lot that is being dedicated with the Koban for these purposes. There was broad support at the hearing, no opposition, and there is no funding that the government is providing. It is them, their contributions and their sacrifices that are continuing to improve this property and really make it a benefit to our community. It's really incredible what they have done and continue to do. This bill will support and affirm our commitment as a legislature and a government to honoring Vietnam veterans and maintaining a site that preserves their stories, their service, and their part in Guam's history. I want to thank the current members of the Vietnam Veterans Chapter 668 for all of their work, including current President, Mr. Nick Francisco, and past presidents, Dan Mendiola, James Mantanani, and Juan Finonia. I also want to thank the Mayor of Ungata and the Vice Mayor Tosco of Manilao for their support for this facility, because they work together as a community to improve this for all of the people of Manilao. And I ask my colleagues' support for their support to pass this. In addition to the current mayor, past mayors, because this lease has been going on for 20 years now, have also very much helped them. And coincidentally, one of the former mayors was Nick Francisco, Nito Blas, and the commissioners before them. So Sijus Masi to all of those who continue to make this property really a shining star of Manilao and of our island, that we have a place that we as a government dedicate and commend the Vietnam veterans of Guam. Sijus Masi, Mr. Speaker, and I ask my colleagues for their support of this bill.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the bill, 173-38 COR, are there any senators wishing to speak on the bill? General Lady from Tumuning, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of course, I stand in full support of this legislation. I mean, the importance of it. I did not hear, actually, Mr. Speaker, when the lease exactly expires. Was that mentioned? Could I ask the author when the lease expires?
Did the author yield to the question?
Sorry, I don't have the exact date, but it's in 2025, this year, for sure. I think it's, yeah.
In 2025? Okay, well, we all know we only have like how many weeks left in 2025, so the urgency is there, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleagues for allowing this bill to come on. Usually I've been a person who's always consistent and not allowing bills on the agenda unless it's gone through the correct process. It has been on the legislative website. It was brought in on Tuesday, though I would rather have 5 days, working days, in order for us to address it. But because of the importance and the timeline that we're dealing with, it was overlooked. So the last thing we want to do is have, especially these group of veterans, the Purple Heart group, who've not only maintained the facility, the Kokobine, all these years, but have invited so many people to participate, outreach programs, bringing off-island federal individuals to come, with high-ranking individuals coming to speak at their Kokobine and inviting the public to also hear what they have to say, especially for questions that they may have. So I stand in full support of this, and again, thank my colleagues for allowing this bill to move forward so that we don't miss the deadline, which is the end of this year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the bill, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Gentleman from Tamuning, sir, you're recognized.
Just Masi, Mr. Speaker, and I certainly rise in full support of the bill. You know, interestingly enough, Mr. Speaker, we've seen Kobans that have been put out of use sit and sometimes even, become dilapidated and the like. And I think that, when the Order of the Purple Heart took this over, is a shining star in terms of using a public asset for something that is very worthy and something that really decorates our community, and the maintenance and the effort that they put in up there is remarkable. The many ceremonies that they have, and you can just see it exudes a lot of pride and a lot of dignity, really, to the service of those who served and also have reached the level of commendation of the Purple Heart. It's, once again, I think their efforts demonstrate their dedication and their dignity to their service. And so I certainly appreciate the mover of the bill and the co-sponsor, and certainly is well-deserved. And I know that the organization is looking to us to make sure that this takes place timely so that they continue to have that facility, once again, as I say, in my humble opinion, as one of the proud structures and repurposing of something that was originally intended for a use of, community service, and continues to be a building that does a great community service, and also, once again, as I say, a testament to remembrance of those who served, and certainly those who had attained a recognition of very high order. So for that reason, I look forward to voting in the affirmative of this bill. So just Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, sir. On the bill, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Gentlelady from Barragata, ma'am, you're recognized.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of Bill number 173-38 COR, a measure that recognizes not only a lease, but a legacy. The legacy of service, sacrifice, and continuity for the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 668, and the community they serve. For nearly 2 decades, Mr. Speaker, VVA Chapter 668 has cared for this property in Manilao with dignity, respect, and an unwavering sense of stewardship. They have not treated it as a mere leasehold. They have treated it as a responsibility. A place where veterans gather, heal, remember, and continue to serve our community and to serve our island. They have maintained the grounds, invested in improvements, and ensured the site remains safe, accessible, and welcoming to the many individuals and community organizations that uses it. Mr. Speaker, this legislature often speaks about supporting veterans. Today, through this bill, we have the opportunity to demonstrate that support in a meaningful, practical, and lasting way. Renewing this lease allows VVA Chapter 668 to continue providing essential services, peer support, community outreach, ROTC mentorship, youth engagement, and a physical space where veterans can find camaraderie and stability. I also want to note that any concerns raised in the public hearing have been addressed responsibly and transparently, and the Department of Land Management provided its recommendations, and this body has ensured that the language of this bill protects the government's interest while still honoring the commitment made to those who have worn served, and worn the uniform. The safeguards embedded in this measure, Mr. Speaker, ensures that the property will continue to be properly maintained and used for public benefit. Colleagues, our Vietnam veterans endured unimaginable hardships in service of our nation. Many returned home without the resources, recognition, or support that they deserved. Yet they continue to serve our island. They built organizations like Chapter 668, not for themselves, but for the next generation of veterans and for the community as a whole. So Bill 173-38 affirms that this legislature sees them, we honor them, and we believe that their work in this facility must be allowed to continue. Renewing this lease is not an act of charity. It is an act of gratitude, recognition, and a reaffirmation of our island's commitments to those who have borne the battle. I commend, Mr. Speaker, the author of this bill, and I'd like to ask and offer my intent to be one of the co-sponsors. So I humbly ask my colleagues for their support and for their unanimous vote in favor of Bill 173. Seduce Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the bill. On the bill. Gentleman from the telephone will show you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to rise in support of Bill 173, authored by our friend and former Senator Frank Uggan Jr. Back in the 28th Guam Legislature, was enacted as Public Law 2804 on February 15, 2005. It was put forward in response to an interest that was expressed by the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 668, to utilize that former Guam Police Department Koban there at Route 15 and Route 10. In exchange for the use of the facility, the group committed to the general maintenance and upkeep of the building and the upkeep and beautification of the immediate surrounding area contained in that property. At the time, the Manila Municipal Planning Council considered endorsing the idea of allowing the use of the Koban structure and the surrounding property with the understanding that the property would be properly maintained and beautified. They have done that. And recognizing the lack of active use of the structure, and we see that all over the island, Mr. Speaker. It was kind of a look forward from the 28th and Senator Uggan's proposal. Mr. Speaker, it's a good use and clear example of how the public property, particularly with those that are designated for other purposes but have remained idle, can and should be used to benefit our broader community. This bill represents our immense gratitude for the service and sacrifice of our veterans, recognizing the time, effort, and resources that our veterans and their families have put into expanding and maintaining the Manila site for various veterans and civic organizations. And as a son of a Vietnam veteran, this is an important bill. I think that we just got to continue to support this organization. For these reasons, I rise in support, and thank you for the time this morning, Mr. Speaker, to talk on it.
Thank you very much, sir. On the bill. Gentleman from Mipan, sir, you're recognized.
Seduce Masi, Mr. Speaker, to rise in strong support of our Purple Heart Vietnam veterans. And I think they have done a great example of really showing how we can correct some of the things that we've done in the past. These police Kobans, this was a policy, this is a program that was instituted, I forget which administration, but I was still in school for a few of them. And it was a great idea, right? It was these police Kobans were in the villages, and they were in the villages so that we could go there and, see the police. People felt safer back then, but then with the early out retirement that we did and the reduction in the force for the Guam Police Department, we pretty much lost the ability to staff these Kobans. And as administration changed, it became less of a priority. And in some villages, you can still see these Kobans, and it's just a reminder of a lot of the inefficiencies and inabilities for our government to really deliver on promises of public safety in this example. And so I just want to commend the Purple Heart veterans for really providing an example of how we can kind of rehabilitate these co-bans, and I'm kind of thinking we could extend this possibly down the road to other types of buildings, because Lord knows there's no shortage of abandoned structures, private and on the government side as well. But they've done a great example. You know, in some villages, like I said, you drive by these co-bans and it's, you know, broken down. You got trees growing out of the windows. But that co-ban that the Purple Heart veterans have taken over, it's a beacon, really. And as you drive down that road, you can see all the hard work that they've put into it. And it's really become a symbol for our veterans, not just the Vietnam veterans, but for all of the veterans. You know, that's a very highly trafficked area. And as the good author of this measure that I stand in strong support of, our former speaker, the gentle lady from Jotnya, as she has said, they've done a lot of great work on that co-ban. And, you know, I also want to take the opportunity to recognize the Barrigada Veterans Organization, the BVOs, as they have done something very similar. Not as elaborate as what they've been able to accomplish there in Manila, but the co-ban in Barrigada, which is right by the church, they've also been able to rehabilitate that and be able to use that for their headquarters for the Barrigada Veterans Organization. So, of course, I stand in strong support of this bill, and I just want to really commend the author, the gentle lady from Jotnya. She's been very consistent in her support of not just the Purple Heart Vietnam veterans, but all of the veterans and all of the veteran groups across the island. And Sidus Masi for your service. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to rise in strong support of this bill. And I'm very eager and hopeful to see its unanimous passage so that we could avoid and avert any type of, lease lapse or anything that could cause dismay or disrupt, the lives of our veterans. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. On the bill, Ranking Member, Gentle Lady from Pago Bay, you recognize.
Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to rise in support of this bill number 173-38 CR, and thank the good author from Zotnya and of course Hagat for being main sponsors of this legislation. And as I agree and say ditto, ditto, ditto to all the retiring speakers that spoke in support of this, I just want to say, as one who is a part of Mangi Town and has been there for the majority part of my life, I want to say that this Koban is probably, Mingilao Koban, is probably one of the most active Kobans, and the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 668, has been very, very supportive, not just to the community of Manila, but to advocate for all veterans who come through its doors. And almost every day, if I'm not mistaken, you see a bunch of veterans there. And with the efforts and support from the mayor and the vice mayor also, we want to continue to see this happen, and supporting the extension of this lease has been a very, very positive light for a lot of the veterans, as at least they know they have a place to go to. So, Mr. Speaker, please have all of us support this measure, and I hope we can get a unanimous decision in this, and hopefully the good authors could make me a part of the sponsorship. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to rise in support of Bill number 173-38 CR. Sizos Masi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the bill, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Gentle Lady from Margaret, ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to former Speaker Therese Terlahi for reaching out to me to be a main co-sponsor of this bill, which was obviously a no-brainer. But I think this bill really is just another example of how the 38th Guam Legislature is really putting the voices of veterans forward and highlighting the issues that they face. But this particular bill I support it because like many others that I've introduced, it honors our commitment to Guam's veterans community by ensuring that the Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 668 can continue operating in a stable and dedicated space. Renewing the lease for the Mangilao property will allow our Vietnam veterans to preserve their programs, strengthen outreach, and expand critical services for fellow veterans and their families. This measure also recognizes the decades of service and sacrifice made by these men and women and reinforces our responsibility to provide them with the tools and space they need to continue contributing to our island. By supporting this bill, we affirm Guam's long-standing respect for our veterans and invest in the well-being of the community they continue to serve. And again, I rise in support of this bill and hope that we get unanimous support for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the bill. On the bill. No other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Senator Talai, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I close, I'd like to make a motion to add some sponsors to this bill and to thank them for their support of the bill here on the floor and during the public hearing. I'd like to add Senator Tello Taitagui, Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Gumatautau, Senator Shelley Calvo, Senator Barnett, Senator Tina Munoz-Barnes, Vice Speaker Ada, who was also the chairman of the committee who held the hearing and has put this committee report out in time for this session so that we can take care of this before 2025 ends. And of course, you, Mr. Speaker, for also being there at the hearing and supporting the bill. I'd like to make that motion.
On the motion to add Senators Tello Taitagui, Chris Duenas, Sean Gumatautau, Shelley Calvo, Chris Barnett, Tina Munoz-Barnes, V. Anthony Ada, and myself as co-sponsors to the legislation. Are there any objections? Hearing seeing no objections, motion carries.
So just Masi colleagues, again, I also want to give credit to those who originally moved this legislation forward to allow this co-ban to begin. And that was, of course, again, the former presidents of the VVA Chapter 668, who I mentioned earlier. Those were presidents, currently Nick Francisco, formerly Dan Mendiola, James Mantanani, and Juan Finonia. And the mayors, current and past, of Mangilao, who have also helped to move this forward, and senators. The main sponsors of the original law were Senators Uggan, Speaker Forbes, and Senator Brown. And Senator Klitsky on the floor also was active in making amendments to make that a stronger law and more assuring for the veterans when they are making investment of a lot of resources and time and equity into this. They were very much assured because of the law that had passed that their investment was solid. They are not going to be kicked out, at least for that 20-year period, unless something went very, very wrong on their part. And so that's what we're going to do for them again today, is to ensure that their continued investment, their continued use, their historic use, really, of this place for the gathering of Vietnam veterans and the honoring of our Vietnam veterans. I think it's historic. I'm so proud to be part of this and that to help them in all of their efforts and to continue and for us as a community to continue to honor them. So again, thank you to my colleagues, and I move that this bill, as amended in the committee and on the floor, be moved to the third reading.
On the motion to move Bill 173-38 COR as amended by the committee and further amended on the floor to the third reading, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Gentle lady from Tumuning, ma'am, you're recognized.
Sujus Masi, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me. At this time, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I move that we go back to motion so that we can allow and address the Bill 119-38 that was vetoed by the Governor.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. We're back to motions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move, notwithstanding the House rule, I move Okay, let me start again. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the objections of Imagahagan Guahan, I move to act upon Veto Bill number 119-38 COR, which is an act to reenact 5127D of Subarticle C, Article 2, Chapter 5, Title 5, Guam Code Annotated, as repealed in the Public Law 31-1 relative to restoring legislative oversight on exceptional term contracts. And I would like to speak on it.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, as you know, this bill passed by 10 votes, well over, almost unanimously. There was one person absent, but I'm hoping that I can convince that one individual person the importance of passing this legislation. I rise today to ask for this body's support as well of amended Bill 119-38, a measure that restores legislative oversight over exceptional term contracts, and in doing so, restores the people's voice in decisions by the future of Guam's public lands. Public Law 38-1 passed earlier this year, created what I and many others believe to be a dangerous loophole. While it raised lease terms to 15 years in the name of economic development, it simultaneously stripped the legislature of its longstanding role in reviewing contracts that goes beyond the 15 years, that threshold. The result? Agencies can now, with nothing more than a determination of need, enter into a contract for 30, 50, or even 100 years without a single public hearing, without legislative overview, without the people ever knowing the true cost of giving away what belongs to them. This is not efficiency. It is an invitation for abuse. It is how sweetheart deals are made beyond closed doors, where the value of public land is locked away for decades and accountability is lost. We know this story too well. We've lived it with leases like YTK and the ITC building, where the people were shortchanged and left with little recourse. But Mr. Speaker, colleagues, there is also a deeper history that compels us to act. Mr. Speaker, it is an extraordinary honor to receive testimony from former governors. We do not always have this privilege, and I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to former Governor Joseph Ada for taking the time to provide his insight. Out of the utmost respect for his distinguished service and recognition the rarity of this occasion, I will now read his testimony in full to benefit all who are listening. However, due to the sake of time, Mr. Speaker, I do know that I'm going to bypass that, and anybody can see it in the committee report. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to recognize and express my sincere appreciation for Governor Eddie Baza-Calvo. His continued guidance and support for this body is invaluable asset. With the same sense of profound respect and acknowledging the rarity of receiving his insight. I would like to read his testimony, but again, for the sake of time, and I know we are on a timeline because we have to vote tomorrow, I will bypass that. I'd like to just join the two statements by the former governors in support of this legislation. I don't think I need to say any more. I think they said it plenty. So if possible, I ask this body, and for the record, that those who voted yes on this bill continue to hold strong to your commitment to the people of Guam. Your vote showed the people of Guam that you do care, that you are responsible, but most especially the famous words of being transparent, well, instead of saying it, by voting yes on this override, you will act on it. You will do it. You won't just say it anymore and stand up and keep saying transparency, transparency. No, you will now be that person who is transparent by your actions of voting yes to this override. Again, I thank the governors who testified along with the Attorney General and the OPA, who was in strong support of this measure. And I, again, respectfully urge my colleagues to join me. Sijus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. On the motion to move Bill 119-38, the veto of 119-38 into third reading for an override. Gentleman from Epensa, you recognize.
So just Masi, Mr. Speaker, to rise in support of the override of the governor's veto of this bill, which seeks to amend the very first bill that we passed in the 38th Guam Legislature. The very first thing we did in the 38th Guam Legislature was remove legislative oversight from really any leases. So the way the law is now, the leases can be 15 years, and if there's anything being sought above 15 years, then they just send a determination of need to the Speaker, and that's that. Wham, bam, thank you, spam. So obviously legislative scrutiny is very important in these long-term land leases. I thought it was a great compromise of the body to go from, the law originally said anything over 5 years. And so there was a lot of debate, even the previous legislature. I mean, they were looking at, 30 years, different types of terms. And so I felt like there was a great divide in the body between people who wanted something very exceptional, like 30 years, and then people who were a little more moderate or reasonable, like myself, who, I favored 10. I thought 10 was pretty good, but, it is what we compromised at 15. And I was kind of shocked that the governor signed it into law, that bill, and then she vetoed this one, and she said that it was because it's going to create an anti-business environment, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think if you talk to the businesses out there, especially the small businesses want support, and the businesses, really their number one gripe is the amount of time it takes to set up and do business on Guam, the amount of time it takes to get these permits. And so while the governor had argued in her veto message that this bill would create a anti-business environment, I absolutely disagree. I think what creates an anti-business environment is when you appoint permit czar after permit czar, when you come out with press release after press release saying that you're going to streamline permitting, that you're going to make it easier for businesses to do business on Guam. That's kind of anti-business. I think this is pro-people, because the people's elected voices should absolutely have a say, should absolutely be able to scrutinize these long-term land leases, because land is one of our most precious resources. And so I rise in support, but I know that the author of the bill is probably a little nervous because I've seen it in the short time as a senator. I mean, you've had bills pass unanimously, get vetoed, and then all of a sudden, it's like people change their votes. And so I just wanted to go over the vote sheet for this bill. And again, thank those who voted in support of it. And those who voted in support of it include Vice Speaker Ada, myself, yourself, Speaker. Thank you for supporting this measure. I know that when the Bill 38-1 passed, you had opposed that bill. And so I just want to thank you for that, because I find that on some of these issues, we really align and agree, and so I hope that your support for this will hold. Senator Borja was absent and excused. Senator Calvo voted for the bill. Senator Duenas voted for the bill. And this one I thought was a little interesting because you had, some of the Republican titans, really, former Governor Joe Atta, who my grandfather was a big supporter of. I mean, back in the day, we had the Maulik stickers, all that stuff. So you had former Governor Joe Atta come out and basically agree with us that the legislature has to be able to, in the sake of transparency and accountability and really safeguarding the people's property, he argued that, we should support the bill. And so did former Governor Eddie Calvo. And so I was really surprised when you guys as Republican Party chair defied that support and voted no on this bill. So I'm hoping that we'll see a shift there. And the other votes, of course, you had Senator Parkinson voted no, the ranking member, Senator Barnes also voted no, and then Senator San Augustine voted no. And so that was how the 10-4 vote laid out. And so really it's very precarious here. It passed with 10, and all that has to happen is for these guys to wheel and deal and do their shenanigans and flip one vote, and then we lose the override. And so I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. I really hope the support for this holds. I think it's very reasonable for us to expect to have the ability as the people's duly elected voices to look at anything that we're signing that commits our people's property, over 15 years, Mr. Speaker. And so the people of Guam are watching. Even when the stream drops, they're still watching, and they're paying attention. And so I really hope that these 10 votes at the very least stay where they were at when we passed this bill and sent it to Adelup. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to rise in support of this override attempt.
Thank you. On the motion, are there any senators wishing to speak on the motion? Gentlelady from John, you're recognized.
Susan Masi, Mr. Speaker. Again, I fully support the override. Shocked to see that the governor vetoed this bill that had received 10 votes down here, received the support of the AG, the public auditor, former governors, a bill that would restore a little bit of oversight over land to the legislature where it belongs. There's two things the legislature has oversight of. That's land and the finances, the cash, and the authority to borrow. And I don't understand if we come in here and want to abdicate our authority to agencies, not even to a governor, but to agencies over the land to dispose of resources that belong to the people of Guam. It was a huge thing when the legislature passed that bill because they intended, and they spoke as if they intended, to change what was a limitation on 5-year leases that agencies could enter into to 15 years. Many found that reasonable, and that we would have oversight after 15 years, or anything beyond 15 years. And as the author of this bill and this override motion stated, that's because the people of Guam have lived through very bad leases. They've lived through it, they've suffered the non-revenue, the false promises, and had to make up for it in other ways, including taxes. Where it should be our job, every legislature's job, to ensure that we are going to get for the people of Guam the best value. And if we didn't want checks and balances in our government, then I guess it's good. We just allow any agency under any administration to author any lease, which the current law that we're trying to override allows leases up to
50, 100 years. Unprecedented. And all in the guise of we are going to increase it from 5 to 15 years. And that's why the author made this bill, to correct that mistake, to ensure that anything over 15 years is going to get some kind of oversight. And really all they need to do is show us the need, what type of business it's going to be, what is the benefit to the people of Guam. And again, if these agencies are so afraid to show us what a good deal it is, then I don't believe it's a good deal. If they can't stand the transparency in government, then they don't belong there. And we don't need those kind of deals for the people of Guam. That's why we're here. So many of us are disgusted and fed up with watching things happen in the government that should not happen, that are corrupt. And the only way is to ensure some kind of check and balance. Our Organic Act says it's us. But this governor says, no, it's not you. It should not be the legislature. Really? Every other legislature before that said it should be, especially in our recent couple decades, because they had to live through it. We have former governors, and every governor wants to control land. I totally understand that. They want to be the one to authorize these leases for companies and promote business. We all want to promote business. There's nothing that hinders the promotion of business by requiring leases that are exceptionally long, over 15 years, to go through some sort of review, public scrutiny. That's it. The public auditor came in and was pretty much appalled that we had even passed a law with that type of a mistake in it. I'm saying the word mistake, giving people the benefit of the doubt, but really, we pointed it out before the bill was passed, and they passed it anyways. So they intentionally wanted zero review of land leases, land that belongs to the people of Guam, not to any governor or any legislature or any agency. The public auditor was appalled that we had passed a law that would allow that. Again, after all we have seen, audit after audit, of pointing out bad leases, unmonitored leases, unscrutinized leases, or really just bad deals. And sometimes, maybe they sounded like a great deal at the time, but that is why we want more eyes on it. More eyes, because we don't know what happens 20 years from now. And we don't know, like we did not know when we were giving out land for submerged cable leases for $10,000 or a tennis court or a basketball court, that those things are really worth millions of dollars. And things have very much changed. We don't know what's going to change in 20 years, and that's why it's a great idea to have a little bit more oversight, a little bit more minds on it, a little bit more eyes. For those in our community who can help us to foresee the future, instead of relying on one agency who thinks they can see the future to dictate what's going to happen with the property of the people of Guam. And I'm very much opposed, just in principle, to abdicating the authority of the legislature. We're going to go through another election process and argue how we're going to come in here, be checks and balances. That's not what this bill did. It completely abdicated checks and balances, gave it away because we are not in here to do work. I think the people of Guam deserve so much better than that. And nobody is saying it's an easy process. It's so easy. You want a long lease? Just tell the people of Guam in a publication what is the need for a long lease. Tell them how long you want it to be. It's transparency. That's what it is. Give some time for any objection for whatever reason, some public input, and then it's a good deal, you allow it, you move forward. And we have done this. So there's no impediment to us doing that if it's a good deal. So I agree with the former governors, and I thank them for coming in and testifying. As governors, they know the desire to control property by any administration is balanced by legislative oversight of the land resources of Guam, the land resources of the people of Guam. And I can't stress that enough because I just feel so wrong to say we don't want to represent you anymore in these transactions. Let's rely on one agency. I'm telling you, in my term as a senator, I have seen the improvements that we have made to what some agencies perceive to be great deals that are actually horrible deals. Terrible value for the land, for the people of Guam, and value that companies were very willing to pay. And I think if we can't override this, then we are just going backwards. We're opening the doors to those deals that former legislators, when they passed this law in the first place, making a term limit on leases that don't have legislative review, because they did not want any more corruption. And I don't see why we as a legislature in the 38th in 2025 would want to allow that either. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the motion, are there any senators wishing to speak on the motion? Gentlelady from Barrigada, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of the override of this veto for Bill 1119. And, just to reiterate some of the comments that were stated on this floor, is that, this really opens a door for corruption if it hasn't already existed. And the question is to our people of Guam, what deal was made? What deal was made to make this, to veto this bill? What 15-year contract is being talked about? Over 15-year contract or exceptional term contract is being made behind closed doors. Our people are at risk. The public trust is at risk if we do not override the veto of Bill 119. Who stands to benefit? Our people have lost trust in our government for many actions. And by vetoing Bill 119, that adds to the distrust. And I ask the community to seek answers, to seek transparency of who is going to benefit if we do not override this. Who has their pockets already lined up if this veto is not overridden? There is a lot at stake here. I am just incensed that how we, people in our community, are looking to undo the safeguards to benefit themselves. This is not why we're here. And I do not want to normalize this concept of sweetheart deals. I do not want to normalize corruption in this body. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to protect the interest of the public. And what we do here has long-term impacts. And this is something that was required of us. This is our duty as a legislative body to protect the public trust, to protect the lands of our people so that we can continue to thrive on this island. Not line the pockets of special interest. Not to allow sweetheart deals to go behind closed doors. We need to put a stop to this. My people of Guam, please watch. Watch who is going to not support this override and who is going to benefit from this for not overriding this. Who will benefit? So I ask for my colleagues for their support to override of the governor's override of Bill 1119-38. Thank you.
Thank you. On the motion, General Lady from Agate, ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was one of those senators that supported the first iteration of this bill. But then when Bill 119 came across and I saw the feedback from the community and also the testimony from the former governors, I realized I made a mistake. And I supported and I voted for Bill 119 because I think that's what you do. When you see something, you fix it. And so it's a lesson learned for me. And so that's why I support Bill 119 and I'm owning up to it. So with regard to this push for the override, I also support the override of Bill 119. I truly don't believe what the governor is saying in her veto message, that this is anti-business, because in reality, what it is anti-corruption. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I rise in support with the override of Bill 119.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the motion, General Lady from Tamuning, you are recognized to close on the motion.
Thank you, and I'll make this very short because that last statement from our good colleague saying what she did was, wow, I'm like, yes, all the way yes. And those who are listening today, those who are watching, and we know many of us run into individuals who saying, oh, we watch you on TV all the time, we have our lunch if you're all ready to go in case you guys go over bleed into our lunchtime. We have our food standing by just in case, because there's a lot of people who want to see what this body is doing and how they react. Thank goodness to technology. The truth will come out because every one of us standing up here today that will be voting yes on this override is voting yes for the people of Guam to ensure that they still have their trust in us to do what's fair, what's right, what's transparent, but most especially, Mr. Speaker, it's just the right thing to do, very simple. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity, and I move to place Bill 119-38 to the third reading file.
On the motion, notwithstanding the objectives of Ibagahagan, go on to place veto bill number 119-38 COR in the voting file. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Colleagues, the bills that we have left are going to require the committee of the whole. Agencies have been contacted and they will be here this afternoon. So We're going to take a break, and at that time, Senator Matsanani, I will give you the opportunity to, okay, I will give you the opportunity to open on both your bills when we get to committee of the whole. Or you want to open it now and then dissolve the committee of the whole? We can do that at 2. Huh? Or you going? Well, take a minute recess. Take a minute recess. Okay, ready? Back from recess, Senator Salas Matsanani, ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Notwithstanding the House rules, I make a motion to go into the Committee of the Whole at 2 o'clock to discuss Bill 186. That is an act to appropriate the unallotted balance of the pharmaceutical fund of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, and Bill number 18738 COR, which is an act to appropriate the sum of $19,745,714 from the general fund realized from the bond refunding savings not factored into the fiscal year 2026 budget for capital improvement projects and life-saving supplies and materials at the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority.
Okay, on the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. We'll be in the committee hall. We'll come back at 2 o'clock.